talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she is required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody, those fruitcakes are off the hook. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go run into the other office. Got to climb a ladder. And give me a second. Give me a minute. One. Okay, made it. All righty, let's continue if we shall. One heck of a day, folks. Having some, looks like we're having a little technical difficulties here. Let's see if we can fix this. There we go. Camera, technical. Anyways, folks, I hope you had a great weekend. We're just going to have to deal with some light, some glare, some issues. Looks like I don't even exist. What am I? Am I a virtual John or what? What the hell? Okay, let's just go with this. Let's just go with this. It is, folks. It is turning out to be one hell of a shit show. This entire SHTF world is one hell of a shit show. I want to start with this. We are fighting back, you and I, us, America. And there's nothing, we don't have a choice anymore. We literally don't have a choice. Louisiana, though, has decided, well, they have power, they have authority, and they actually have a sovereignty resolution. Sovereignty resolution. The passage of SCR 21, Senate Stuart Cathy's joint concurrent resolution, right, passed in both chambers in Louisiana, affirming their sovereign constitutional right to, quote, nullify unconstitutional acts of the federal government. In other words, the state of Louisiana, the state, capital S, of Louisiana, has decided that it can determine for itself what the Constitution says and what the Constitution does not say. Not only their own Constitution, but the Constitution that governs the several states, the United States, small u, United States. And that if that government, which is based in Washington, D.C., the only place that Washington, D.C. exercise exclusive jurisdiction, therefore exclusive authority, right? They can say no. Now, the resolution rests upon the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, and the guarantees that were made to the independent states who formed our Constitution, under which all other states have joined, as well as U.S. Supreme Court precedent, going back 200 years, folks, right? Now, if we go back, there is historical precedence for telling them to go fuck themselves. In 1798, the Kentucky Resolutions nullified the Federal Alien and Sedition Acts. And Thomas Jefferson wrote that states who agreed to ratify the Constitution are sovereign and independent within their sphere, which means within their geographic boundaries. And that whenever the federal government acts without authority, and that only authority it has comes from the Constitution itself, when it acts without that authority, nullification is the rightful remedy. God bless strong, political, real elected officials, agents, leaders, and politicians. And Louisiana has now stepped up front, much as Texas has in the past, much as Florida has in the past, and is saying, take a look, we have huevos, we have spine, we have guts, we have strength. We are a sovereign state, and you don't get to violate the rules set forth to govern you and then have us have to obey them. God bless that state. Now, of course, also Louisiana is the only state that is based off of French common law, by the way. The other 49 states are governed by English common law. Be that as it may, Louisiana still has this authority to do this. It is a complete shot fired right at Washington, D.C., right at the heart of the beast, that if you're acting unconstitutionally, we will not obey you. We are not bound to obey you. We refuse, right, to accept unauthorized, unconstitutional authority. Now, I hope other countries or other states in the country decide that they're going to step up, because they truly are, folks, independent sovereign states or countries within the Union of States. You see, the Union doesn't make the United States a single nation. The Union, the United States government, represents all the 50 states in matters that it's authorized to do. In other words, coining money, roads, postal service, and dealing with foreign nations. In other words, foreign nations don't get to come and make deals with independent states. Foreign nations have to work with the United States government. That is all it is intended to be, is a federal system which protects all of the states from abusing one another. Yes, right? Regulating interstate commerce, meaning not telling you what you can and can't do, but rather making sure that trade and movement between the states is fair. Not equitably fair, but I should say lawful instead of using the word fair. They need to behave properly and not violate the rights of other states. Anyways, God bless Louisiana. I hope you understand what we're going to deal with in the coming months and years, and hell, even in the coming days, folks. Days. Get your questions in, folks. It is Monday, and we're going to rock and roll, and we're going to tear this up. I have a lot of shit just to give you a flavor of the SHTF that's coming. A flavor of it, right? At the national level, the United States, or rather not us, the Union of States, but rather the United States government, Washington, D.C., is getting a taste of its own filthy, poisoned medicine. Now, Saudi Arabia, formerly our good buddy. Saudi Arabia, formerly reliant upon the United States for protection in a world filled with socialist and communist nations, no longer needs the United States because the United States has become abusive to its allies. Like an abusive husband or an abusive wife treats and puts down and abuses their spouse. So Saudi Arabia is now good buddies with China and Russia. And the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, is now telling Washington that it is going to suffer harsh economic consequences. It has threatened Washington. Isn't that quite interesting? Not with war, but with economic consequences for what Washington, D.C. is doing to Saudi Arabia and other nations. In other words, Joe Biden's doing an awful lot of dirty shit, folks, that you and I aren't aware of, that the public, rather, isn't aware of. We get to hear about it here and there. He's an asshole. I'm not talking about Muhammad. I'm talking about Joe, our buddy Biden. Not really. Not really our buddy. Can you imagine, folks, how pissed off does the Crown Prince have to be to threaten the United States? How pissed off he has to be, right? And also how emboldened he is. now that he has allies that are as strong or stronger when combined against the United States. In other words, he feels that working with China and Russia and India and others as his allies gives him the backup he needs. Additionally, he feels he's in the position economically to flip the bird to Washington, D.C. and get away with it. And get away with it and get his way. In other words, folks, there's been a lot of complaints. Now here, you and I have been talking about the weaponization of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Attorney General against the American people. Against us, me and you. Well, externally, folks, right? The world is pissed off and tired of Washington, D.C. abusing them with economic threats, sanctions, everything that the U.S. government does to us, folks, it's doing to other nations in other ways. In other words, they're a petulant, spoiled bunch of Washington, D.C. bitches, and the world is done with it. That explains, folks, understand why there is a BRICS union. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and another 24 nations, 24 or more now, nations that are joining that union to get away from the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar dominance and hegemony is done. The power that kept the United States the supreme power of the world was our military and our economic might, the quality of the dollar, which has been abused. And you're thinking, how can the dollar abuse other countries? Because of what Biden is doing. He's inflating away the value of the dollar, and it's hurting other countries economically. So yeah, DC is going to get a taste of its own medicine. And like an abusive spouse, when the other spouse gets beaten back, right? Instead of what? Fighting? Oh, I expect Daddy Biden to turn around and start abusing us, the children, when he doesn't get his way. Because that's how they think of us, as their little children. Well, I do like Louisiana and what it is doing. Now, speaking of parents and children, expect more violence to come very soon, folks. Very soon. Because the crap that's going on in schools is continuing to go on in schools. In Huntington Beach, California, at Edison High School. Remember, we just had a problem in Glendale with a bunch of Armenian Americans saying no more of this LGB shit. No more LGB shit for our kids. And Antifa showed up and decided they were going to get a little bit physical. Well, apparently Armenian men aren't dead below the waist, and they decided to stand up and start pounding the shit out of the little punks. Well, so that was Glendale, folks. Now we're looking at Huntington Beach. Parents were pissed off because a math teacher was reported by the kids to have used threats and coercion to force students to watch a video about LGBTQ plus pride. It occurred during a regular math class, folks. And the teacher wanted to play a Bolt TV episode that featured, folks, the pride bullshit. Okay. Bolt TV, the student produced and administration approved channel. Was that parent approved? You know, when you get these approvals from people in fruitcake groups, oh, they're perfectly fine with it. I'm sure all the drag queens are perfectly fine with children touching them. You bet. I'm sure all of the trannies are perfectly fine with watching girls change while they hang their penis out in the girls' locker room. Right. The students' reaction to this video was not positive, folks. And it was reported that most found it extremely uncomfortable. And another student filmed the reaction of students. And so you could hear what other kids were saying. One said, "Why are you showing this to kids?" But instead of turning it off and going, "Oh," right, the teacher started criticizing the students and said that she considered their behavior inappropriate. And if they didn't do what she said, if they didn't shut up and watch the video, she would give them a Saturday detention day, right? The Breakfast Club. And this was said, I'll warn you guys now, if you're going to be inappropriate, I will have supervision down and give all you a Saturday school for next year. So knock it off. In other words, watch your indoctrination and sexualized crap, or I'm going to punish you. Does that sound like free speech? Does that sound like something good? Right? If you've got something good, you don't have to force people to watch it. If people are uncomfortable, there's a reason why. Parents are pissed off. Parents are completely pissed off over this. One teacher or one parent wrote, the teacher is grooming the kids, and it shows a love scene in a movie at school and then threatens the kids with Saturday. You know, it's unacceptable. Threats are not acceptable. It's despicable, right? Yeah, you bet it is. All those things and more. I expect more violence coming, folks. I expect Antifa to come out. I expect that, right? In fact, I want to give you guys a look, right? United Nations investigators and Republican lawmakers, folks, are warning of a new violent extremist group. You know who that group is? Can you guess who the new violent extremist group is being warned by both Republicans and UN investigators? Right? This group they're warning about, folks, is the trannies. The trannies. Right? We've had violent mass murder. We've had stabbings. We've had nothing but trouble coming from these fruitcakes. You know, I think the name should be Trantifa. That's right, Trantifa, folks. The anti-fascist and transitioning warriors. Here's a little clip of them training to battle you. Yep, they're training and training hard, folks. Actually, I think they're training limp. But yeah, seriously, they're now warning that the new extremist groups, too bad the mainstream media won't cover the violence that they're promising. As parents get more pissed, as you get more pissed, as we go through all this crap, as they continue to push their shit on us, oh yeah, it is absolutely coming. And their leader, folks, the leader is Joe Biden. Actually, I think we all know it's actually Barry Hussein Barack Obama. Right, that guy, former illegitimate president Barack Obama, and his husband Michael. So that's their leader, though. There's the overt leader and the covert leader. Joe is the overt one. Obama is the covert one. Now, this is what Joe Biden had to say to his LGBTQ supporters. He says, this is the most courageous group I've seen in any time in the recent past. Courageous. The LGBTQ people are courageous. Is he out of his mind, retarded now? The answer is yes. Courage, folks, has nothing to do with allowing yourself to be sodomized by another, or courage is not sodomizing others and then telling everyone how much you like it. That is not courage. He is out of his mind, retarded. I guess he forgets in his time while in office that 13 active duty military people were killed in Afghanistan because of his shitball decision. 12 Marines and a soldier killed because Joe Biden is a moron. And his Pentagon, his Defense Department would not allow those who knew what was coming to stop it. I guess, folks, and there's all kinds of other wars going on, all kinds of other conflicts that nobody knows about, that they don't talk about, the off-the-record shit that goes on, has always gone on. There are hundreds of military bases around the world. Hundreds, folks, not 2 or 3. Places in shitball countries like Nigeria. That's right. Countries that you've never heard of. Like Sierra Leone. If I told you Sierra Leone as a country, sounds like something that's in the Southwest United States. No, it's in Africa. There are countries around the world with military bases where our servicemen and women are showing courage and having to fight at times to protect themselves, to protect others. And he wants to say that fruitcakes in America, who are not getting kicked out of restaurants or any other businesses just for being fruitcakes. Well, of course, unless they're committing acts of joy and pleasure on each other publicly. Otherwise, they're allowed to be wherever they want. Right? That's not courage. These fucking people are out of their minds, and it's coming, folks. The violence is going to come. Right? The violence is going to come. Right? And us, for our part, for demanding morality, decency, and everything else, we're in big trouble as well, because, well, they're going to think all of you are bad. Well, by the way, Dylan Mulvaney decided to stand in for a photo op with Tony the Tiger at the Tony Awards. So guess what? A lot of conservatives are calling for boycotting Kellogg's brand cereal products. You know what I say? Good. Ban every single Kellogg's product. I don't think there is a product on the shelf made by Kellogg's or General Mills that you can't get a no-name company duplicate for that isn't 90% as good or better than Kellogg's or General Mills. Screw the mega corporations, folks. Fuck them. It's another woke corporation you can add to the list. Get rid of Kellogg's. Well, it was just the mascot standing there. He didn't know Dylan Mulvaney was actually a penis-having man dressed as a woman. Well, I don't know. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't, at this point, it doesn't matter. Kellogg's, you don't come out and apologize for it, then you're for it. You're for it. Come out and apologize, Kellogg's. Tell us how it was an accident and it'll never happen again, that Kellogg's is for straight children and it doesn't support trans activism. It doesn't support sex change operations, care for children in schools. It doesn't support castration and other mutilation of children. Yeah, we need to hear that from Kellogg's. The same way the Toronto Blue Jays made their baseball pitcher come out and say that supporting any boycott was wrong. He came out and said supporting boycotts is good. They made him apologize and say that was wrong. Baseball is for everyone, and I'm really sorry. And then they fired him. First you apologize and then they fire you. It's a fuck you anyways. So you know what? Fuck you, Kellogg's, and any other company that wants to screw with us. You come out and apologize, Kellogg's, and tell us you're not about hurting children and you're not about destroying American tradition, culture, decency, and morality. I got good ground to stand on, folks. I've got very strong ground to stand on when it comes to morality. I know what's right and what's wrong. And these people are out of their fucking gourds, wrong. And I'm not going to accept their excuses. Well, it was just a picture. Yeah. So is child pornography that they have found on the computers and phones of hundreds of Democrat politicians, teachers, trannies, drag queens, etc., that are constantly getting caught passing around pictures of children being abused by adults. All right, let us continue if we shall. And we're getting close to the part of the channel where we switch over and we take your questions. So get your questions in. Get your questions in now. And I want to cover this real quick. Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers founder, he gets an incredible punishment. He gets an incredible punishment, folks. You know what he did wrong? What did he actually do? He attended a Trump rally. Do you know what he was accused of? Promoting violence and insurrection. And that's why he was found guilty by a jury of idiots. And he's going to be in jail until he's 75 years old, unless his appeal is held up and he is removed. Right? This is what we've got, folks. Right? Wearing a Make America Great Again hat is not a crime. Right? Going to a political rally is not a crime. Being the leader of an organization and not doing anything wrong is not a crime. Right? He was unarmed, as well as all the Oath Keepers on January 6th. There were no weapons. He never told anyone to go inside the Capitol. He himself never went inside the Capitol. There was no plan, right? The Oath Keepers who entered the Capitol assisted police. There's no evidence of an insurrection at all, no real evidence. And this is, folks, why I'm telling you. This is why I'm telling you that I won't be arrested ever for anything. I don't plan on committing any crimes and allowing myself to be arrested for no crimes and treated like the rest of these patriots on January 6th. And Uman says, never apologize to these morons. They take that as a sign of weakness and then pile on and destroy. I agree with you. You will lose either way. So lose with your head hanging high, head held high, and in defiance of them. You see all those exclamation points from Uman? It's because he's pissed. He's just pissed. I'm pissed too. I've had it with these fuckers, folks. I've had it. Now get this. Jordan Neely, former Marine, right? Killed the man. I'm sorry, it was Daniel Penny, former Marine, got Jordan Neely in a chokehold and subdued him because he was threatening to kill people on the subway. When someone's threatening to kill people, do you have to wait until they've killed somebody? Well, he said he's going to kill all of them. Does he have to wait till he's killed all of them to go, yeah, he made good on his promise, I guess I'll subdue him now? Where if someone is committing a crime or threatening to commit a crime and acting out in a very violent manner, don't you think it's advisable at that point to take action before someone gets hurt? And the person who's threatening the violence, shouldn't be they, if anyone, shouldn't they be, if anyone, the ones that get hurt in the process? What if Jordan Neely killed 10 people before Daniel Penny said, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore. 10 is just too many. And then he finally subdues them. Would everyone else stand around and go, what were you waiting for? Why did you wait? You're now going to be charged with waiting before doing something. You could have saved all 10 lives. You didn't act fast enough. Right? I mean, where did you draw the line on this shit? Right? Where do you draw the line? Oh, speaking of drawing lines, let's talk about this. JP Morgan Bank has decided to settle with a victim from the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring. The value of this settlement is, it's been released, it's $290 million. That's the settlement that JP Morgan Chase Bank. Number one, how is JP Morgan responsible for settling with anybody? What did a bank do? It wasn't a bank, it was a bank officer or bank employee. Did JP Morgan Bank fund the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring? Is that why it's being held responsible? This is a Jane Doe victim. It doesn't say Jane Doe victims. And here we have this. JP Morgan Bank gets to settle for victimizing somebody. $290 million, but there's no criminal charges that are going to come out of this? Since when is child sex trafficking, or any sex trafficking for that matter, a civil matter that can be settled with a settlement? It can be handled by a settlement. And there is not a criminal matter that comes out of this. What the fuck is going on? Right? If I went out on the street and saw someone that I didn't like, and I walked up and bitch slapped them across the face, and when they fell to the ground, because I can bitch slap pretty hard, I put the boot to their ribs a few times. And they had to go to the hospital and get their ribs taped up because I broke their ribs. Do I get to just settle with the person? Oh man, I'm really sorry about that. I tell you what, I'll pay your hospital bill and I'll give you $50,000 in cash for pain and suffering. You know, no worries. We're all done, okay? Everything's just fine now. Do I get to settle outside of court or in court civilly and there's no criminal charges that follow? Oh, don't expect, folks, don't expect Citibank or any of its officers, Jamie Dimon, to be named in a criminal indictment for this whatever sex trafficking was going on Jeffrey Epstein's Little St. James Island of Joy for perverted Democrats and rhino Republicans. Unfucking believable, folks. Seriously, unfucking believable that they're just going to get away with this. Hell, I guess. How about me? $290 million. JP Morgan. Do I have to have evidence of being abused, or can I just come out and charge them with abuse too? They abused me, right? 10 years ago, they kidnapped me and took me down there and abused me. I want $290 million. What would they say? Well, we've abused others, like this Jane Doe victim, but where's your evidence that we screwed you in the ass, John? Oh, I have to have evidence. Do I need pictures of somebody's penis? Right? It's incredible to me. How about Hunter Biden and what he's done illegally? Well, did someone settle with him? Did the government just forget that they are supposed to press criminal charges against criminals to punish criminals so that criminals cannot continue to victimize others? Only in America can you get away with this shit, folks. This shit. It is nothing but shit, right? And people are getting pissed. It's on, folks. SHTF style. It's coming. Now, Steve Bannon went off today on his show and basically went after Bill Barr and Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, Bill Barr being the former Attorney General under Trump, because they hid Biden's criminal behavior, the evidence of it. And so this is what he said. Bill Barr, you can sit up there and call this a good case, meaning the Trump case. We're going to shove this up your ass. Well, there's a little bit of violence inherent in that, but Democrats and rhino Republicans like Barr kind of like the threat of having things shoved in their ass. Doubt me not, folks. These people are freaks and they're scum, and they're never, ever, if they can help it, be held accountable. It's your turn, folks. It's your turn now. Oh, yeah. I tell you, folks, there was a Christian man. He did this. This was his crime he was arrested for. Are you ready? In Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. He was arrested because he was at a pride event. Well, geez, what was his crime? Was he blowing another guy in public? Was he exposing his genitals to children? Was he committing lewd and lascivious acts on others or allowing them to do it to him? Well, that's all pride stuff, right? Was he dressed so provocatively as to cause women to faint and to violate some city ordinance? No, hardly. He was arrested for reciting Bible verses. How dare you publicly read from the Bible, arrested and put in a car and hauled off to jail? The only good news in this, folks, is that the charges were dropped. Free speech, right to practice religion. He wasn't hurting anyone. He was at a public event. But that's what he was charged with. While I'm sure the fruitcakes did all those other things that I said he could have been accused of, but didn't do. That's how fucked up this place is, folks. This United States under Joe Biden. And these fruitcakes, these fruit salad eating motherfuckers. I'm not very happy with them at all, folks. I'm not happy with them all. Cerveza sneeze. I want to take your questions. I'm kind of ready for it. And before I get to your questions, I want to read something. This is a quote. I know we've got good questions coming, but I got a quote. I just want to read it, and I'll tell you. There is a battle. I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna skip it, and just go with this. Folks, there is a huge resurgence in decency in this country and morality. It's coming. I don't look forward to a country that acts like a theology, a theocracy. I believe that we should have the choice to worship as we see fit, as long as we're not hurting others and we're not committing violent or lewd and disgusting acts in public. All right, I'm for decency, morality. We all know what that is. We do. We know what it is. I'm for that. But this country has gotten rid of school prayer before I was even born. Like, they've gotten rid of the oath, the Pledge of Allegiance. They've gotten rid of the oath where they can. They've taken down the 10 Commandments. All those things that promote goodness and remind people that we have a moral code to follow. Right? An immoral nation can't stand. Once immorality is sanctioned, all manner of unethical and corrupt behavior becomes acceptable. And it's just not right. Just not right. So let's do this. Let us get into your questions. Ooh, man, I know I took a long time, but it is Monday and it happens. Who do we want to put up first, brother? We've got Orlando. He was fading in and out there. He's got a statement and a question. Russia is preparing a, quote, man-made catastrophe at the Titan plant in Ukraine. Thoughts on this? So what's going on out there is the West, Ukraine, the intelligence services, the European Union, the United States, NATO is saying Russia is preparing a man-made catastrophe. How do they know this? Why do they need to tell us? Unless it's propaganda. Bullshit. Right? How about doing this, US, European Union, NATO, and Ukraine? Why don't you do something to stop it? Right? Why don't you do something to stop it? Why is it a man-made catastrophe? Don't you think that the Ukraine military that was lobbing explosive shells, cannon shells at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, where there are 4 enormous reactors, the largest in all of Europe? Ukraine was bombing them, trying to blow them up. You want to talk about a man-made catastrophe? And they were stupid enough, or they had the guts enough to lie to us and say that Russia was doing it while Russian military was stationed there, protecting it, or occupying the territory, whatever you want to call it. You don't bomb a fucking nuclear power plant to try and kill other people. And now we're supposed to believe that, that this isn't propaganda. Why are they telling us? Unless there is going to be a man-made catastrophe at the Titan plant in Ukraine, and it's going to be an act committed by Ukraine or NATO or some special intelligence service, right? Like MI6, James Bond. Is he going to go blow it up secretly and then we're going to blame Russia? Why? What good would it do to blame Russia for a man-made catastrophe? Is that a man-made catastrophe like sinking a Russian warship that has a nuclear reactor on it, small as it is? Is it a man-made catastrophe to attack military bases and go over the border into Russian cities and start killing civilians left and right as much as they can? Is that a man-made catastrophe? Or is a man-made catastrophe blowing up a bridge that leads to an isolated part of Russia, the Crimean Peninsula? Blowing up a bridge just fine. Or is that a catastrophe that could cause people there to suffer unnecessarily? Civilians, not the military. Not the military. Russia, folks, is no friend of mine. At the same time, Ukraine has proven to be an untrustworthy non-friend of mine. They lie, they cheat, they steal. They're the most corrupt nation on the planet, according to the United Nations. Their leader himself, a fruit salad tossing, light in the loafers, skinny jeans wearing fruitcake himself, who lies and threatens the world. But Joe Biden just hands him billions of dollars at a time. Well over $100 billion has gone to that little turd just so his military can get killed, his people get killed. Folks, by the way, if Russia wanted to blow up or disable the Titan plant in Ukraine, shouldn't they be able to? Since this is a special military operation through which Russia is battling Ukraine. Folks, it's a completely sanctioned military action under UN international war rules. Did you know that? Russia hasn't unlawfully invaded Eastern or formerly Eastern territories, which are now independent Russian Federation states. The news seems to forget that. It seems to keep saying that Russia invaded Ukraine. But it is a special military operation under international rules of war. It's not illegal. If it was illegal, don't you think America and the rest of Europe could say, hey, that was completely illegal. It's an act of war. It threatens the whole world. We're coming after you. Yeah. And the world would be justified in going in and punishing Russia, kicking them the fuck out. Instead, only Ukraine is allowed in, even though the United States and England and the rest of Europe are sending ammunition and intelligence and training and parts and materials, bombs, rockets, missiles, explosives into Ukraine to fight. Basically, Ukraine is a shitty regiment of poorly and piss poorly trained military, and they're in an unenviable position to try and win back territory that Russia has taken. I don't care how old and shitty and rusty their T-72 main battle tanks are. I don't care how shitty, old, and crappy their Hind helicopters are. I don't care how inaccurate their AK-47s are or how unreliable their RPGs are. They're still an incredibly powerful and deadly military. And the quality of their munitions, folks, has enabled countless piece of shit regimes around the world the ability to fight wars using that cheap Russian shit. I wouldn't, for one, want to be there and fight that war for that little piece of shit Zelensky. But this is the world we have. Man-made catastrophe, Orlando. Someone made an even bigger mess. And it's called the Nord Stream pipeline bombings. That's right, there were 2 pipelines destroyed. I think they should get to the bottom of that and release it to the public, the facts. Because that bombing, folks, has never been answered. At least with 9/11, the government was brave enough to stand up and go, Osama bin Laden did this. My ass. But at least they named who did it. They kind of went, Nord Stream pipeline, it was Russia. Russia did it. It was Russia. Why would Russia blow up their own fucking pipeline? It's caused more economic damage, folks. Hundreds of times the economic damage that 9/11 caused. Hundreds of times the economic damage. And continues to cause because of the expense of what was happening there. Okay, man, I know I'm waxing long today. Let's move on with the questions if we shall. Mikey G says, John needs to use the sub every once in a while. I tell you what, Mikey, I'll probably get on the U308 soon myself to decompress from all of the pressure up here. I appreciate it. The sub will be coming again soon. Trust me on that one. I thought about it last week, but I ended up going instead up to Paris Island via automobile rather than submarine. It was a lot faster to go straight across the south than to sail around Florida and the Keys and then come up the East Coast. All right, let us move on. Thank you, Mikey G. We've got Blue Cord Devil. And welcome back, Blue Cord Devil. He says, John, did you see where, fuck Joe Biden, where he said that we the people is we the government, and they forget who they work for? Yes. And the guy's a complete moron. He's an abject a-hole. He is an unconstitutional, unauthorized occupant of the White House and the government. And he's an embarrassment. He's an absolute embarrassment, in my opinion. And it makes me sick, and it makes me ashamed. It does. It truly makes me ashamed of what they've done and they continue to do. It truly does. And people continue to call me with their stupid spam messages. What makes them think I'm going to answer? Okay, let's do this. Let's move on if we shall. I keep getting other messages coming through, and it's Jane Dixon. Let's do that. Per Kerry Lake, Republicans are NRA members. This is a public service announcement. VBG. Per Kerry Lake, Republicans are NRA members. This is a public service announcement. Jane, what are we getting at here? Kerry Lake is the gubernatorial candidate in Arizona that did not get elected. Apparently, Arizona decided it wanted a pedo grooming POS as governor, Katie Hobbs, who is a liar and a coward and a chicken shit, who continues to push for grooming of children in schools among and along with other despicable, shall we say, government sanctions of crap. Thank you very much. And the folks, NRA, this country is made up largely of patriotic Americans, veterans, and it's our opponents are America haters, true America haters, who are immigrants who come here for money and for freebies and for giveaways to escape their shithole countries and then come here and badmouth America. I have an example right here, right? Another idiot who graduates wants to crap all over the place and spread their political crap, right? This graduate, it was a couple of weeks ago, some graduate came out and I called her Ilhan Omar's little sister or replacement. This one accuses Israel of, quote, killing and torturing Palestinians as we speak. There's another fine anti-Semitic speech from El Camino Community College in none other than Torrance, California. The student was Jana Abulaban, head of the Associated Students Organization. Wow. These people, folks, are awful. It says something, I mean, this is ridiculous. This is America. You've come to America to live in America. But this person, and I don't know whether it's a male or a female or a non-binary, who gives a shit? But this person says, I gift my graduation to all Palestinians who have lost their life and those who continue to lose their lives every day due to the oppressive apartheid state of Israel. Blah, 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 blah. Has this idiot bothered to look at what's going on in this country? To see what our government, the U.S. government, is doing to its citizens, calling them terrorists, terrorist threats, domestic terrorists, and jailing them unlawfully without a crime being committed? No, let's come here and make a statement about the third world shithole they came from, called Palestine and the Middle East. I want peace for all humans, folks. All of them. I don't care what color you are, peace. These fuckers, all they do is come here and ask for war and fighting and for us to support their military cause back in their section of the world. Right? And then they get mad when they get their way or they don't get their way or they kind of get their way. Or as soon as they're done using us, Americans, to pay for their shit. Interesting. Just fascinating. The leftists are morons. They truly are. Jolene. And we do have Jolene in the house, folks. We have Uman and Jolene. And it is Monday. What do you want to talk about? We got another great comment, question, thought coming up. And it is, of course, name redacted. And this is what he writes. The forgotten man always gets to pay and suffer. But to this regime, real women aren't even defined or respected. This is a statement, folks, not only about the Democrat Party, but about how they use groups to get what they want. I have warned repeatedly to you LGBTQIA plus fruitcakes, fruit salad eaters, stool packers, all of you butt pirates, every last one of you, all of you ding-dongs out there, listen to me carefully. This government is going to use you and spit you out when they're done. The Soviets, that is communist Russian socialists, the Chi-Com communist socialists of China, and the Nazis, the National Socialist Workers of Germany, they all killed their homosexual populations as soon as they had the power to do so. What makes you think they won't? And what makes you think the United States government is any more special? Let me give you some 4 examples. The United States government in Washington, D.C. has abused us, the people, its military members, by having them fight, calling it a patriotic duty, and obey your oaths and go fight these wars that we demand. And they put up a few bad guys for people to kill. And then what do? They turn around and show us the despicable reasons they're there. For example, in Afghanistan, a Marine military infantry unit was assigned to protect a field full of opium poppies. How many Marine Corps and Army units were set out in harm's way to guard the production of illicit, illegal drugs that would no worries assuredly show up in America and make it into the veins and minds and bodies of addicts here who are created by this product being shipped to America? I mean, what did they think? They're going to fucking consume all that opium just in Afghanistan? No, they knew. They knew. Well, that's not enough, folks. How about the cry, the scream to protect women, except when Bill Clinton is molesting or raping them, or Joe Biden sexually assaults them? We don't want to hear about those. But anytime a Republican, anytime a man out there, right, I don't know, name a guy, right? We have to believe her, believe her. The Me Too movement, folks, the Me Too movement started just a few years ago. It rose to its zenith, its heights during the Trump administration, right? And when Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh was a nominee, they attacked him based on one woman's vague recollection of him wagging his weenie at her at a party where supposedly they were all drunk, but she wasn't drunk and she knows, right? Right? Remember that bullshit? And we must believe her. And Me Too. And they charged the Supreme Court women's rights, feminist rights, all the pink pussy hat marches that went on and on and on and on. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And now women are being shit on by the Democrat Party, by the Rhino Republicans. They're being shit on by woke America, by universities, and by the legal system as much as they can get away with. Women, who cares? Fuck them. Well, not literally. Don't give them any satisfaction, but screw them. No, don't give them any satisfaction. Yeah, abuse them. Women are now being abused by men pretending to be women. And now women who are used to go after Trump, who are used to go after men like Kavanaugh, who are used to call masculinity toxic and to say men need to get in touch with their feminine side and stop being such testosterone-driven ass kickers. And then you're now discarded, women. So LGBTQIA plus people, understand you're going to be discarded as soon as you're no longer useful. The same way the feminists were considered obnoxious, stupid, annoying, and morally, shall we say, bankrupt. Move along, ding-dongs. The fruitcakes are going to get the same treatment. They don't understand it, except they, unlike women, folks, are incredibly violent. Trantifa, you I can't take it anymore. I had to stop it early. All right, Jolene, we got a few minutes left. I've got some more stuff to talk about, but let's go with Uman. He says, the revolutionaries are always the first to be gotten rid of once they have taken the power and control. That's right. If you useless sheeple overthrew your own government, what's stopping you from overthrowing the new government? You're a threat to them. You must be eliminated. That's right. Let's just suppose that the feminists joined up with the LGBTQIAs and didn't have any problem with men pretending to be women and causing them to lose all of their the women's pride and the women's academics and the women's sports and the women's scholarships and the women's opportunities and jobs. Women, imagine all the women now who are not making it to the boardroom, who are not making it to executive positions, who are not being named partners in law firms because they're just lowly women. Because all these fruitcakes have stepped up and said, I need diversity and inclusiveness. Environmental social governance. You have to allow me in, right? Some guy does a weenie tuck, puts some mascara on, and all of a sudden he is more desirable to have in your corporation than a lowly woman. Unbelievable. Yes, that's right. And when it comes to revolution, they use these radical ding-dongs to commit radical acts, and that's all they're good for, right? Kind of like a rabid dog. A rabid dog. It has to be put down. That's all a revolutionary is a rabid dog. Unlike a rational, intelligent philosopher who doesn't have to be violent, right? The men who created the Constitution. Now, you might also make the argument that it was completely justifiable to tell the King of England to go fuck himself with the Declaration of Independence, because it was a rational, a very rational, folks, letter written to him saying, you no longer have authority over us. We are now free and independent, and by right ought to be, should we choose, and we hereby choose, as representatives of the people, we hereby dissolve our union with you, King of England. And I believe that the several states or anyone or group amongst them has that same authority to write a letter. Folks, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Missouri, Kansas maybe, North Dakota. They ought to, by right, to be able to say, hey, we have decided, the people have chosen. We have voted. And our signatories are here right now signing our Declaration of Independence from the tyrannical, unlawful, abusive government of the United States of America that is based in Washington, D.C. for its, and then you name everything it's done wrong, just like our founding fathers, the great patriots who signed the Declaration of Independence did. Do you think the idiots in Washington would understand that? I doubt it. All right. I tell you what, folks, we've kicked off this week. Don't do anything stupid, illegal, harmful, or dangerous. This show is all satire. You get to make your own decisions. Right? Misinformation? I don't think so. Just some opinions, some thoughts, some satire. Where are you? Are you prepared? Do you see what's coming? If you didn't yesterday, do you see it now? Is the problem just international, or is it local? Or is it international, local, and everything in between? You get to make that call. Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense in case things come apart in your neck of the woods? And if the states continue to declare their sovereignty, are you going to support it? Are you willing to suffer to pay for that freedom? Right? Those of us who have been in abusive marriages understand that you can get a divorce, but it's going to be painful and it's going to cost. But ultimately, you will live and everyone else will live better for it. Am I promoting the idea of secession? I think yes. Is it an insurrection to say we should secede from the Union? No. That's just my opinion based on my beliefs and understandings. You, all of us, will have to make our own decisions when the time comes. You'll see those decisions coming at you, and you'll get to decide. We all get to, folks. Our whole lives are full of decisions. 50 years ago, those decisions were quite a bit different than they are today. Are they not? 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, the decisions we made as Americans were far less grave than they are today. Right? Back then, folks, 70, 60, 50, 40, even 30 years ago, the government made decisions regarding our enemies. Today, more than ever, I think our government is acting as the enemy. It has pissed off 3/4 of the world's population or more. Great nations out there are now joining to compete or defeat the United States and its closest allies. If the whole world is complaining of abuse by the United States government, is it any surprise that the people of the United States themselves, within the several sovereign states, would have similar complaints about their treatment as well? I tell you, it's one hell of a world. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Thumbs up the video if you're on YouTube. Share this video on YouTube. Wake people up. They need to wake up. They're doing it. Help give them a kick in the butt to go in the right direction. And I tell you what, thanks a lot, everybody. Semper Fi, Godspeed. I'll see you tomorrow. 0 Dark 30.